Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby!
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast for the year 2020. It is my birthday. I just got to say that right off of the rip. December 31st, New Year's Eve. Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen, and happy birthday to myself, your host, Rhett Matthew, as always. Joined alongside me, just as he has been this entire calendar year, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucks fan himself, Mr. Too Legit to Quit, and definitely didn't quit on us today like our other special guest did, Evan Wanish. Evan, how are you doing, my friend? I feel like I know the answer to this question, but how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. I could be better.
It's the same answer every time. But,
yeah. I don't know why I ever expect anything different from you. But okay, so this show it is the last episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast for 2020, and I assume
every time you say that, I think you're saying
it's the last.
When you first said it, yeah, it's like, oh, this is the last episode.
Yeah,
like,
surprise!
Okay,
it's the last one.
I didn't know. All right, sorry.
So it's the last show of the year. It is our weekly game preview show, and I'll be honest with you, the Bucs are playing the Falcons this week. They have a chance to push their record to 11-5, defend the home turf and the pewter uniforms.
Which we both predicted at the beginning of the season that they would go 11-5. So.
Yes, we did, and it looks like a favorable matchup. But I'm just going to preface this right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you want a legitimate game preview like we normally do, well, you can go ahead and listen to the show from 2 weeks ago when we previewed the Falcons game, because I feel like between now and then, not a whole lot has changed between these two teams.
No, not really. It seems like the Bucs are gonna have Ronald Jones, which will help. And it doesn't. I don't know. Julio Jones didn't practice again, I think, yesterday, which is we're recording this on Thursday, so it would have been a Wednesday practice. I don't think he practiced, and the Bucs are starting to get a little bit healthier, which is a good sign. So they should have Jones. Hopefully, I think they'll try to get Jones to 1,000 yards. I think it'll be tough, but they're 40 yards away from Mike Evans. I'm sure they'll probably get that for him.
Yeah, Bruce made it clear that he's a really big part of the game plan this week. They want to make it happen whatever way they can. And honestly, with Mike Evans and 40 yards, I think this offense, if they come out rolling, they can get that done on the first drive and then worry about the game for the rest of the afternoon. I know the Falcons normally do a lot to try and double team and slow down Mike Evans, but the way Brady was slinging it last week, it's almost feels like that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, if Evans comes out on the first drive or so and gets 40 yards and gets his 1K, maybe you see him for another drive. I don't know if you see him the entire game, regardless of if it's a blowout or not. Because with the Bucs receiving depth, you can afford to sit one of them. You can afford to sit Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or even both. I think if you sat both, you could still win the game with Antonio Brown, Tyler Johnson, and Scotty Miller, because you still have Gronkowski and Brate and Jones and stuff. So if you wanted to sit both your receivers in the second half, you probably could.
Yeah.
Not saying they're going to do that, but
depending on what the scoreboard says, I'm sure we'll have to wait and see. Bruce said that this week, they're playing to win, and I think that's what you do. I actually was putting together the hype video this week, and I used a clip from that Herm Edwards that press conference. You play to win the game. That's one of my favorite things ever, because when you see people on Twitter or you see people anywhere that people argue, everybody's like, well, why don't you just sit the whole team, because this game doesn't matter. We're already in there. And at the very end of that little speech, he says, you know what, if you're going to sit here and tell me that it doesn't matter, then you can just leave. You can retire and get out.
Yeah, so, I mean, the only way I would be in favor of just sitting your entire team is if they were locked into the 6th seed and there's nowhere else they could go.
Right.
Then what is the point? Maybe player starters for like a quarter or something. Have it be like a preseason game. If you're completely locked in that 6th seed and there's nowhere else to go, there's no point in playing your starters because the game, win or lose, does not matter. But yeah, they still have stuff to play for. They can not get the 7th seed, which is good news. So they can't drop to 7. It'll be either 6 or 5, and it's pretty simple. Win and you're at 5. Lost and a Rams win and you're at 6. But the Bucks could still lose, and if the Rams lose, the Bucks still get 5. So Rams are going to be without Jared Goff. They're probably going to be without Cooper Kupp. So it's something to definitely monitor. So so the Bucks, there is a scenario where the Bucks could lose but still get the 5th seed.
Yeah. Really quickly, before we go any further, we are contractually obligated to let you guys know that this podcast is brought to you by our good friends at betonline.ag. The NFL regular season is pretty much over, and the playoffs are about to kick right back up, but there's a lot of great bets going on over at BetOnline. Listen, if you've got a good feeling about a certain team that's going to put a stop to what Kansas City has been doing all season, well, you can go check it out over at betonline.ag. From game spreads and totals, the team, player, and coaching props, BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any other place online. And of course, you've always got the online casino, never closes. So head over to betonline.ag today and take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses. BetOnline, your online sportsbook expert. Evan, I am disappointed. I'm hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot of things. So for the folks who might not have been aware, we were supposed to have...
Hang on real quick. So it says the Falcons have a positive COVID test from a member of the team, but it's just one. So they're just going to conduct business virtually today. So doesn't sound like anything like too serious, but just one.
Yeah.
One
well,
positive
some more
test.
News coming out today. You saw the Browns, I think, had 2 positive tests.
Yeah,
so they shut down
Browns.
the facility
That
again.
that game might be in some jeopardy.
Yeah, definitely. Really big game for the Browns as well. But going back to what I had said, let's keep talking about me because that's my favorite topic. I'm disappointed. I'm let down. I'm kind of hurt, but
You're
a
hurt.
really good friend of the
Heartbroken.
show was supposed to be here for my birthday spectacular, and to put it straight, he didn't even wake up today. Like he's still sleeping like a baby as we record this, I think.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
that guy was Mr. Bucks Nation, aka James Hill. You guys might have heard of him. But so let's go through the text exchange, shall we?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we started a group chat. It's me, Evan, and James. We've had it for a couple months. We talked about the TB12 method, how terrible that was for him. So I text him yesterday, right? We're talking about the Jadon Mickens news. Jadon Mickens, by the way, promoted back up to the active roster. Kenyon Barner put on the reserve list. And so Jadon Mickens will be back returning punts and kicks for the Buccaneers in Week 17, which kind of feels like the same thing we had before, but I guess I'll take it.
I don't know. I
So
guess.
Mickens is James' boy, right? So he's the first guy I think of. And here we go. I said, James, I have a proposition for you, friendo. And then, we go back and forth, and he's like, what's the proposition? I said, tomorrow we're recording our last podcast of the year, and I'd love nothing more for you to join us. I'm going to try and put the phone number out, and we can do a Q&A format since there doesn't seem to be a lot to preview for this Sunday's game, which is a true statement, both of those true statements, and we did float out the phone number. Here's what's crazy. We got 6 missed calls, and nobody left us a voicemail.
Gotta leave us a voicemail, guys.
We got one text
We
message.
appreciate the call, but
We got one text message from the 407 that said hi, and I think Skype will charge me if I text you back. So hello from the 407. But yeah, I mean, between the lack of voicemails that were really going to carry the show today, and then the absence of James, which was also going to carry the show today, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Evan. What's on the slate today, buddy? Because I am completely unprepared.
all right. So we got.
It's my birthday. I got the day off.
Yeah. So we can talk about what we got for Christmas.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, because we hadn't had a show since what was that, December?
I think it was 23rd.
23rd, was it? Okay. So yeah, Christmas Eve and Christmas. So how was your Christmas Eve and Christmas? Did you do anything special?
It was good, man. I got to see most of my family. Everybody lives a good, car ride away from each other. So I got to see my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, some of my cousins, my mom. Hung out with Bree's family for a little while, which was really good. So that was a big deal to me. Like, I haven't seen my grandparents since before, the whole thing started. So it's been almost a year since I've seen them. So seeing them for Christmas was pretty damn cool. And I'll tell you that the gifts this year came in clutch, man. I don't know anybody watching over on YouTube, but I'm sure you can see the new and fancy setup behind me. Normally I have 3 jerseys hanging up. Now I have 5. And if you can kind of hint or pick up what I did here with the pattern, I've got from left to right. I've got my Creamsicle Warren Sapp, my brand new Mike Allstott jersey. Thanks, baby. And then I've got the Levante David
You're welcome.
alarm clock in the middle. I've got the pewter custom Redicus. And then I've got my stitched Mike Evans jersey at the end. By the way, shout out to Evan. He sent me some money for my birthday, so I don't feel like as much of a broke bitch this year.
There you go. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, hey, that's the least I could do. Without you, the show literally doesn't run. So, like it literally, guys, like you can't. Like that, people will say, "Why don't you do it on your own?" I can't. I don't have like if Rhett isn't available, I can't do the show. So, yeah, for Christmas, I went over to my grandfather's house on Christmas Eve. Saw a few relatives. Christmas morning, woke up, opened everything. Got some cool stuff. I got a lot of Buck stuff, a lot of non-Buck stuff.
Got a lot of Brady stuff.
Yeah, I did. I got two Brady pictures of him in a Bucks uniform. I got
the Super Bowl ticket.
So, yeah, I did, but not. Yeah, well, you make it sound like I'm going to the Super Bowl. So I got it was this collage thing that was framed, and it was of Brady and like his 6 Super Bowl championships, and it had like one of like the tickets in there, I think from the one versus the Rams, so it was the last one he won. But yeah, I mean that was cool. And then a funny story is I got a TB12 shirt. I got another one of those, and then my mom ended up getting me a hat. But it's this exact hat. So now I have 2 of the same hat. So
well,
I'm gonna
if you don't need one of them, you let me know, because I'm sure I got some outfits that'll match pretty well.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll see. We're still trying to sort out the whole return policy thing. Because what had happened was I had told her to get me a TB12 hat, but I guess when I sent the link to her, it had automatically gone back to the default one.
Oh,
and
no.
This was the default one, so she was like, "Okay, I guess I'll order that." And like, it was just a screw up. So whatever, it's all good. But then I mean, I got some Sixers stuff, I got some Flyers stuff, got some Office stuff. The Office, the TV show, not
You
like
got a new stapler, new day planner.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, pens. I got I got a ton of candy. I am loaded up on candy right now between my stocking and everything. And I mean, mostly I pick out my own candy pretty much. That I let Santa deal with the rest of the presents. But, I enjoyed the candy, and a lot of it, full disclaimer, a lot of it is gone. So, other than that, though, not really a whole lot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you guys got any really good Bucks gear or anything you want to share for the holidays, definitely let us know in the comments section over on our YouTube, or just give us a shout on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcasts. So, believe it or not, up until this point, we do have some Buccaneer news I wanted to talk about pertaining to the game this Sunday. We had mentioned it briefly earlier with Ronald Jones returning back to practice yesterday, but another key guy returned to practice, and that was number 24, Carlton Davis. So Carlton Davis coming off of that groin injury. And Bruce kind of put it, they're a little touch and go on it. And, I'll be honest with you, I definitely feel a little bit better with a guy like Carlton Davis sitting out for this game than I do for Ronald Jones. Because, last week we had talked about the importance of getting Ronald Jones going before the playoffs officially start. So I think for him, a healthy amount of carries on Sunday should be good. But Carlton, what do you think about him? You think he plays?
He might play. He might be on a limited snap count, though.
Yeah.
I think he might end up playing, but in a limited capacity. I think he suffered the injury against the Falcons and missed the Detroit game completely. Obviously, it turned out they didn't really need him, which was good. But I think they're going to try to get him to go. I think they're not going to push him, though. I think they want him as healthy as possible for the playoffs. But also, same thing with Jones almost. You feel better about it. But do you want Carlton Davis's first action to be in a playoff game? I don't know. You'd like him to get a little bit of action. So it doesn't seem like Julio Jones is probably going to play. So Calvin Ridley it is, and Calvin Ridley shredded him last time. So maybe there'll be some redemption for the whole Bucs secondary really. So we'll see. But yeah, as far as Jones, like we said, we want to get him going before the playoffs. And then Davis, I think Mike Edwards was at practice too, I think. But he had gotten injured during the Detroit game, and he didn't return. But I think if he needed to return, he could have. But obviously, in that situation, he didn't have to. So I think he was in practice in a limited capacity. He might be another guy that's on kind of like a snap count. So
yeah, and I definitely think that this is the game where you see a lot of those snap counts come into play. Particularly, I think most of where you'll see it is along that defensive line. I think you'll see a lot more Jeremiah Ledbetter this week. He had a good game last week with the sack that he had. I think you'll see a good rotation, just keeping your guys fresh in there, depending on how this game goes. If you need your starters, they'll definitely be out there because the Bucs have made it clear they're playing for that 5th seed. Let's talk a little bit more about the matchup, and this just kind of, picks up on the game preview we had talked about before. You have to say it again. The Falcons are a team with nothing to play for, so they would love nothing more than to play upset for Tampa Bay. They already know that they're going to the playoffs either way. But if you can give them a much less favorable seed at the 6th position, they would love to do so.
Yeah, you always want to be a division opponent. I don't care when a lot of people say it's a cliche, but I think it's true. When you're facing division, you can basically throw the records out. The records do not typically matter when you're playing a division opponent, and I think that's true. Raheem Morris, I still think that Raheem Morris is being considered for the Falcons head coaching job. I really do. I still think it is. They're playing a lot harder. They're playing teams a lot tougher, and they just haven't been able to close out games. I seriously think that Raheem Morris right now, I don't think he gets the job, but I think he's being considered for it. And a huge thing for him would be beating the Bucs in Week 17. That would be a huge thing for his case to be the head coach. So I still think he's being considered for the job. So they're not going to sit down. I mean, and those Falcons players seem to really like him. So they're playing tough. They played Kansas City extremely hard last week. I don't understand the Falcons defense because they have routinely gotten shredded. And then they just dominate Kansas City. Even though it felt like Kansas City, it was almost more like Kansas City just being off, kind of, than the Falcons just doing something special.
Right.
But they still played good. I'll still give them credit. And then obviously, of course, they find another way to lose a close game in the end when Younghoe Koo, who's been very reliable this season.
Pro Bowler.
He missed a 38-yard field goal. So that game was probably going in overtime. Had he made that, and so I mean they just played the defending Super Bowl champions extremely tough on the road, mind you.
Yeah.
So there's another road game for them, and I'm sure it left a sour taste in their mouth last week. They were up 17 on this Bucs team a few weeks ago, and they let it slip. I don't think they want to do it again, but I just think the Bucs are probably just the better team, and the Bucs still have stuff to play for. So, speaking of that stuff to play for, though. I did want to ask you something.
Okay.
So let's assume that the Bucs get the 5th seed. Let's assume that they do.
You know what happens when we assume?
What?
Makes an ass out of you and me. It's happened before here on the show.
Okay.
But
Okay. Well, whatever. I'm going to predict that the Bucs get the 5th seed.
Okay.
How's that? I'll use that.
I like the choice of words. It is minor but major in a lot of ways.
Gotcha. So I'm going to predict that the Bucs get the 5th seed. So in that case, they would play the NFC East team on the road. They'd have to go on the road.
And the Buccaneers 6-2 on the road this season.
Yep. Yeah. I actually didn't realize that until I saw a stat. I looked back on it. I was like, oh wow, they are.
And they've I feel like they've carried this road warrior identity with them for a couple of years, even before Brady got here.
Yeah, even before Arians got here, I feel like have always been better on the road than at home.
Yeah.
Even with Cutter, I think that the year they went 9-7, I think they were either 5-3 or 6-2 on the road, something like that. That in 2016 they won a lot of road games. So I mean that's good. That's what you're going to have to do in the playoffs, obviously in this case. But they're going to be playing an NFC East team, which will be one of the Washington football team, the Dallas Cowboys, or the New York Giants. Now, I want to ask you, which team out of those three would you most want to face, and which team would you least want to face, and
I
why?
want to play Dallas. Dallas is the matchup that seems the most favorable out of all of them. And I'll tell you the team that I would want to face the least, solely because of their front four, is Washington. Ron Rivera always had a really good way of just, making the Bucs look stupid. I know that they're still kind of struggling at the quarterback position. I think they had mentioned Alex Smith might be good to go for this weekend. But that defensive line, Chase Young, any team in the NFL can beat Tom Brady as long as they pressure him. And I think Washington is probably the best out of the bunch to do that. But when it comes to the favorable matchups, I think any NFC East team is, a pretty good matchup compared to what you would get in the 6th seed. But
Yep.
I like Dallas out of those three teams.
Yeah, I do too. The Giants might actually be a close second for me because they're not playing good football right now. They had that little stretch where they won a few games and they beat Seattle and everybody was on them. And Daniel Jones has not been good.
He's just bad,
And
man. Like,
if you want me honest,
he's what's
like,
holding that team back.
if you want me honest, I would rather face like Daniel Jones at quarterback than Andy Dalton right now.
Yeah.
But Dallas is like a team and a defense. I'd rather play them. So that's where I go to Dallas. Their defense as a whole is why I would want to play them. But if you're just talking quarterback, I'd want to play Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I would want to play Daniel Jones. I agree with you, though. It would probably go for me. I think it's probably the same for you. 1, Dallas, 2, New York, 3, Washington. So, and I'm like I said, we were texting during the Dallas Philly game. I'm glad they don't have to play Philly because I know the two teams I know the best in the NFL are the Bucs and the Eagles, and I know that the Eagles would not be a good matchup for the Bucs. The Eagles have a solid front four. They got Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Malik Jackson.
Well, and we know that most offenses that run the way that they do always have a field day with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, exactly. Jalen Hurts would have 150 rushing yards against this Bucs team. And it would seem like they're not prepared at all for him. Like they didn't think he was going to run. So that's why I was like, man, that's not a great matchup. But luckily, they don't have to play them. So I do think that Dallas would be the most favorable, just because Dallas's defense. I know you could say, they look good the last few weeks. I mean, they played the Bengals without Joe Burrow. They look good. They played the 49ers, but they gave up a bunch of points. I think over 30, the 49ers. And then they looked pretty bad in the first half against the Eagles, but then really cleaned it up. But a lot of the Eagles things were just self-inflicted mistakes. The Eagles were still driving the ball pretty good. So I think that, and Jalen Hurts is not Tom Brady. So I think that in that case, traveling to Dallas, and it's also that's inside, so you don't have to worry about weather. That's another key. Washington and New York, you'd both have to worry about the temperature. Yeah. So that's another big key of why I think Dallas is favorable. So here's the deal. If Washington beats Philadelphia on Sunday night, the Bucs and the Bucs win, the Bucs are playing Washington in the first round. So Dallas and New York are playing, I believe, 425.
So the winner the winner of that game, if Washington loses, is who the Bucs will play.
Yes.
So for Washington, it's win and you're in. For those other two teams, win and a Washington loss, they're in. So definitely just a wide open division.
Yep. It can literally be any of them. But if I had to guess right now, I'm gonna say they're gonna play Dallas. Yeah. I really think the Bucs are going to beat the Falcons, and then Dallas is going to beat the Giants, and then I think the Eagles are going to beat the I almost said Redskins. It's a habit, Just change it. What do you want their name to be? I like Red Wolves.
I like Red Wolves too, just because of the historical aspect of it. You know what I mean? Tying everything together. That's why I like certain team names in the NFL, like the Buccaneers. They're called the Buccaneers because Tampa Bay was a city founded by pirates, Jose Gaspar, and all that stuff. So it makes sense. It ties together. So for, as far as that goes, I like the Red Wolves the best.
Yeah. So Yeah, so basically, I think that Dallas is going to beat New York, and then Washington is going to lose to Philly. I have a feeling Philly really wants to win this game, but they also don't want to put Dallas in the playoffs. So that's the tricky thing. But I just have a strange feeling. Philly's been close the last few weeks to really breaking out. They almost beat Arizona 2 weeks ago. Played tough against Dallas in the first half and then just sort of fell off in the second half. But I just have a feeling that Philly's going to end up beating them, and the Bucks are going to travel to Dallas and play the Cowboys. So let's look at this. If they get the 6th seed, they're playing the Seahawks. I think that's pretty almost set in stone. Almost.
Well,
there is a chance.
Green Bay still has a shot to lock up the number 1 seed, right?
Green Bay has not locked up the number 1 seed. Green Bay, New Orleans, and even Seattle. Seattle can potentially get the number 1 seed. So you could be seeing a possibility of the Bucks traveling to Green Bay or traveling to New Orleans. I don't know how those scenarios turn out. I don't know what would need to happen. I do know that. So if Green Bay wins, they get the number 1 seed. If they beat Chicago, done. Okay?
So I interrupt your playoff bulletin to let you know that there is some breaking news. I just got a text message from the man of the hour himself.
Oh yeah, there he is.
I'm sure he is feeling plenty shamed. Should we let him into the call here, or should we just kind of carry on? Because we're at the 26-minute mark, and I really think we could use some good ass content to wrap this year up, huh?
Well, if he can get on here quickly.
All right, I'll send him a text. I'll keep you updated. Maybe we'll just chime him in during the show sometime. But
oh goodness,
James Hill, everybody, just 30 minutes late, but it's okay.
He's fashionably late. It's all right.
That's what he does, man. He's Moneybags. He's too good to talk to us. He's the king of YouTube. He's got money to make.
Exactly.
So, really quickly before we get him on here, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the playoffs since we are looking ahead the way that we are. And a couple of important things. One that we went over was matchups. It's a lot different when you're analyzing matchups in the playoffs than it is the regular season because, like we've mentioned, the playoffs, it's that one game, and if you lose, you go home.
Yeah, exactly.
But another thing I think is momentum. And for this Buccaneers team, it's hard to ignore, but three wins in a row, looking to get their 4th, and Tom Brady playing like an absolute madman, I'm sure at this point has to look pretty optimistic for the playoffs.
Yeah, it does. You have to look at the competition that they're playing, but a win's a win in the NFL. I don't really care how you get it. You ask any NFL player, and it's extremely tough to win in the NFL. And to string together 3 or 4 straight wins is very difficult. I don't believe the Bucs have a 4-game win streak this year. I think they have a 3-game win streak, but they don't have a 4 because the 3-game win streak was Packers, Raiders, Giants. That was their 3-game win streak.
Uh-oh. Hold on here. Hold on here. Let's see if I can merge these calls. That's a button I've never pressed before on this.
Let's try that one out.
Yeah, right. Let me go ahead and throw this up just in case we have any technical difficulties. On hold. Hello?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, man. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Let me get Evan back in here.
I don't want to talk about it.
How you doing, buddy?
I don't want to talk about it.
What's the matter? What do you mean? What are we talking about? We don't have anything to talk about. We weren't talking about anything.
I don't want to talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, James Hill is here. We're calling Evan, who hasn't connected just yet.
I don't want to talk about it.
So what's going on? Did you oversleep or?
Okay. I fell asleep at 11 a.m. I woke up at 3 a.m. Or I fell asleep at 11 p.m. Woke up at 3 a.m.
I don't buy that for a minute. I don't believe that you went to bed at 11 p.m. I think what happened is you thought about going to bed at 11 p.m. and then 2:30 a.m. rolled around and you're like, oh my god, we got to do a show at 10 a.m. So you went to sleep at 2:45.
Fell back asleep at 5 a.m. Said to Siri, "Hey Siri, set an alarm for 9:30 a.m." Oh no!
No, you can't.
What
Siri
the hell?
for anything.
Listen. Said to Siri.
James, do you want to turn your camera on, or are you still in your PJs?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. There he is.
I said to Siri. I said to Siri, "Hey Siri, set an alarm." No, now it's gonna do it now. I told my phone to set an alarm for 9:30 a.m. and it didn't. I guess it didn't do it.
Oh, man. Well, you got here in just the nick of time because we were reeling without you. I think we were about to wrap things up after we talked about the playoffs, but welcome to the show, my friend. How are you? James Hill, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bucks Nation, casually late, but, it's cool. All is forgiven, buddy.
I don't even think it's casual at this point.
Did you see all the stuff we had for you in the group chat?
I don't even want to look at it.
There's quite a bit.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I literally all I saw was I looked got up, I looked at the thing, it said 10:30 instead of 9:30. I went, oh shoot. And then I looked down, I saw 30 notifications and I thought, oh no, this can't be good. And then I just see 90% of Evan with screenshots.
I sent some good. There's some good clips in there, dude. There was some great GIFs. It was good content.
Yeah, you're gonna have to look out for that. Yeah, I was screenshotting the text where you were like, "Yeah, I should be good to go," and I screenshotted that, and then I sent like a bunch of like memes or whatever. Yeah.
Oh no!
So it is our last show of the year, the Cannon Fire Podcast, episode 158, I believe. It is Rhett's birthday. And we were talking about
Yeah, you were late on Rhett's birthday of all days.
Come on.
You're born on New Year's Eve? That's hardcore.
It's pretty awesome, right? Everybody's
You didn't even
celebrating
know
today.
it. You didn't even know it. Oh my god.
Nobody ever told me when your birthday was, Rhett.
Oh man, I could pull up the birthday text from last year. Anyways, I'm not mad.
He just forgot. Just like he forgot to set an alarm. His alarm. He just never set it.
I am not bitter.
Stop blaming the phone, James.
I'm not bitter, just mad. So
James, I hope you know for 2021, this is your year. This is how it's gonna go. We're gonna bring this up every time.
Well, you know what? Since you're here, we're gonna go ahead and put you on the hot seat. Let's talk about the playoffs and some of the matchups. We talked about some of the more favorable matchups, the less favorable matchups, but what we were talking about when you texted me was the momentum of this Bucks team headed into the postseason, which is exactly what you want at this time of year. To go from 7-5 to potentially 11-5 with a win this Sunday. 4 games in a row, your quarterback playing like one of the best in the league. He honestly kind of got snubbed for Air Player of the Week by a backup, but we won't talk about that part. But yeah, just this momentum that this team carries. You look at a team like Pittsburgh, they are definitely reeling at the worst possible time, so pretty glad that the Buccaneers are not in that position. But James, what do you make of the Bucks and how they shape up for the playoffs?
I mean, it's huge. Depending on how this week 17 goes, going into that first round of the playoffs, they need as much momentum as possible. They just came off of a 47-7 win versus the Lions, which was huge, especially Tom Brady. I know some people were very upset that, he was taken out of the second half. I feel like it was the right call anyway.
Yeah, well, it helped you win your fantasy league this year, so it definitely was the right call, huh?
Well, you do what you got to do. Anyway, but it seems like finally everybody's firing on all cylinders, regardless of the circumstances with the lines and everything. Depending on how this Falcons game goes in continuity with that momentum is going to be really important, because I think aside from, maybe a couple of teams, there's nobody you should really take lightly in round number 1 of this playoffs. If they're playing the Seahawks, I've seen a lot of people kind of say, "Oh, we can take the Seahawks. It's a great matchup." That's the Seattle Seahawks. I mean,
there was a guy in my comments section the other day that was like, "Oh, we can totally take Seattle. We can beat them up all day." Like, can we really? How many yards is DK Metcalf going to finish with in that game? Like, come the hell on, dude.
Yeah, and between that, Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson, and all the other guys, it would be a tough matchup. The Washington football team or the Dallas Cowboys or the Giants, whoever wins that NFC East, I mean, those guys wouldn't have winning records, whichever one wins, except for, well, no, it's not possible for any of them to have a winning record at this point, is it?
Nope. I think seven wins is the magic number.
Dude, I can't believe a team that's 7-9 or 6-10 is about to make the damn playoffs.
Yep. Yeah. It's a great system. But regardless, especially for those younger guys. For the veterans, I feel like, momentum is still important, but especially for those younger guys, they're probably going to have a lot of, mental stuff going on, whether they want to or not. You know what I mean? It's just natural for them, year one, year two guys, nervous as hell going into their first playoff game. So they need that good streak of play, to have that confidence level going in to round number one. So, I'd say it's extremely important, especially depending on whoever they need to play.
Absolutely. And you brought up kind of the young guys on the team, which is a pretty good thing to remember. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day about, the Bucs are looking like a playoff team. I think they can make some noise. Tom Brady is a guy that you don't want to bet against in the postseason. But that's something else that's important to remember is, let's say this team wins in round one, and then they play New Orleans. Or let's just say they fall to the 6th seed, and then they play New Orleans. My buddy said Tom Brady got clowned by the Saints twice. Tom Brady is going to make sure that it doesn't happen a third time. Well, the fact of the matter is, TB12 can't go out there and play some defense. He cannot.
That's what I was literally about to say.
He cannot do it himself. And I think I speak for most Bucs fans here when I'm sure that every guy in that locker room is chomping at the bit to get New Orleans once again. But from a realistic standpoint, this team has not shown me that they can compete with New Orleans. And it's kind of a shame because they're a division rival, and you kind of should be over this. Bruce Arians 0-4 against New Orleans during his time in Tampa Bay. But yeah, I guess that's just what we're going to shift the conversation to. What the hell do we do if, your young guys just crap the bed against New Orleans? Because that's what I see happening, is that those young guys who are not experienced and a New Orleans team that is already in their heads before the game starts, it just doesn't seem like a good combo.
It's not. if they want to get even to the NFC Championship game, they gotta avoid New Orleans. That is I think every team almost every year pretty much has that team that they're looking at and they're like, oh, can we avoid them? For the AFC, every AFC team, it's gotta be Kansas City. Gotta be just
There's
avoid
else.
somebody knock off Kansas City. Buffalo's good, but even Buffalo fans are probably can somebody beat Kansas City first before we have to play them? So in the NFC for the Bucs, it's the Saints, and for some teams, I'm sure it's the Packers. For some teams, it's probably the Seahawks. But for the Bucs, it's the Saints, and I don't know. The Packers might not want to play the Bucs again because, the Packers really don't match up well with the Bucs. They really don't.
Even in Lambeau in January.
That'll definitely factor in. But I'm just saying, as far as matchup team wise go, the Packers probably would want to avoid Tampa.
And it's probably want to say that because you look at Aaron Rodgers, 45 touchdowns, 5 picks this year, basically, an MVP in a category all by himself.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's either going to be him, Mahomes, or Allen for MVP. So it'll be those three guys. But it's crazy. But they might want to avoid them. But the Bucs, they got to avoid New Orleans. They just like you said, they're just in their heads. Bruce Arians 0-4. Go ahead, James.
Well, I was going to say, I've seen some people.
I like the polite raise of the hand there, too.
Yeah,
for anybody watching on the video.
Yeah.
I've seen some people say, they're starting to try and come back around and say, third time's the charm. We can beat the Saints. There is literally nothing that I have seen from the past 2 games this year that's given me any indication that this team can defeat the New Orleans Saints. Zero. Literally zero. Top to bottom, that's why, outclassed.
That's why if they play the Saints, I will not be picking them to win. Just because they've shown me no evidence. They can't even stay in these games. It's not even they're 3-point games or anything. The last time they played, they lost by 35. There's no evidence that you can hang with them. Now a road game in the playoffs. Come on.
Now let's look at that 35-point loss because it's hard to ignore. And as the regular season wraps up this weekend, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that is the outlier of the Buccaneers season. You didn't see another team really manhandle like that.
Well, there's 3 outliers. I think two are bad for Bucs. One's good for the Bucs. The good thing is the Bucs aren't that bad to lose 38-3. The bad thing is the Bucs are not going to beat the Packers 38-10 again.
Oh yeah, definitely
they're not that good, and they're not good enough to beat every team by 40 like they just did Detroit. Those are the 3 outliers.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's fair. But when you look at the teams that, really manhandled Tampa Bay in the first half, they ultimately lost that game. The Chargers came out, had a big lead. The Falcons, as we saw, 17-0, they lost that game. So for the Bucks, they have that second half identity. Yeah, sure, great. But I guess that we just keep circling the wagon back to New Orleans. I just don't get a good feeling. Like, you look at the Super Bowl season. Okay, for a lot of people, the team that was that team for the Bucks was the Eagles, who they finally knocked off in the playoffs. They shut down the vet. It was a glorious day. Well, two bad things there. They're not going to be tearing down the Superdome next year, and New Orleans is in our division, and I just feel like they have us so much more figured out than Philly ever did. Like, it really seems like I don't know how to describe it, but like
the thing with Philly was in their head so much is because every time they went to the playoffs, they played Philly,
right?
And then they just lose, and then that would be it.
That was and the team the regular season, to get by.
In the regular season, every time they would lose. So yeah, I mean, at halftime of that New Orleans game, Week 9, they were down 31-0. You ain't coming back from that. So. The Chargers were up 24-14, I think, at half. The Falcons were up 17-0 at half. Well, Bucks were down 31-0 to the Saints. So, and the Saints easily could have dropped like 50 plus if they wanted to, but just like the Bucks kind of in the second half of Detroit, they took their foot off the gas. But real quick, James, before we wrap up, we wanted to get your rankings of the NFC East opponents in ranking of what you'd prefer to play them. So Dallas, Washington, New York. What your top three of like matchup wise? Who do you think is the best matchup? Who do you think is the worst?
Perfect. I actually just did this like 2 days ago, and everybody yelled at me, but it's fine.
Were you late to that one too?
Oh. Late to his own video.
I'm just gonna go.
The first 8 minutes of your YouTube video is just an empty chair.
Just nothing. It's just absolutely nothing. I just sit down. Oh, hey guys. So I would say my most preferred matchup out of all of those NFC East teams, I would say probably the Giants, considering we already played them and not handily beat them, but it was a lot better than how it went last year. And I just, whenever I look at the Giants, like, yeah, their defense is still pretty formidable in certain areas. They just signed Logan Ryan to an extension. Their defensive line is really good, but after that, not a whole ton on defense. And on offense, they're still without Saquon Barkley, who is literally the identity of their offense. Daniel Jones is probably the second weakest quarterback situation going on right now out of all the teams that are potentially in the playoffs. After that, not a whole lot on offense, minus, just some couple of wide receivers like Sterling Shepard among some others. Offensive line is a little shaky. Just overall, what are they, a 5-win team?
5 wins right now.
Yeah, I mean,
if they make the playoffs, that means they'll have 6 wins.
Yeah, so they're a 6-win team. So I would, they're not. They have some good pieces on both sides of the football. Still kind of weak overall. Then I would say the Dallas Cowboys is the second most favorable matchup. I like Andy Dalton. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. I like their wide receiver trio. And I do like some of the things that they have on the offensive line. They still have Ezekiel Elliott and whatnot, but they're going up against one of the best run defenses in the NFL if they play against each other. The big thing's that defense. I actually wrote this down. They've had 29 sacks on the season and 9 interceptions, compared to the Bucks' 47 sacks on the season and 15 interceptions. So, they're struggling to get to the quarterback. They're struggling to get their hand on some interceptions and whatnot. That defense is definitely one that Tom Brady could maybe attack there.
And
what about one defense that they couldn't attack, and that's your third match?
That'd probably be the Washington football team. Yeah, I mean they got a pretty good defense.
So I said actually that I would take the Cowboys, and I think Rhett said the Cowboys as well because of the defense. But me and Rhett talked, and I said that based on those quarterbacks, I would rather play Daniel Jones than play Andy Dalton.
You'll get more picks versus Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think that right now Andy Dalton is playing better than Daniel Jones, but I think the Giants' defense is better than the Cowboys. That's why I give the Cowboys the edge. And also, another thing we pointed out is that if the Bucs would play the Cowboys, they'd be going in a dome, and weather wouldn't be a factor. If they play in New York or play in Washington, it's going to be pretty cold.
As long as they don't have that Detroit turf in there, Ryan Suckup should have a good day.
Yeah,
wow. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm switching my answer then. I'll probably pick the
Okay,
Celtics.
I just convinced James. I wish I could convince him to show up to things on time. But,
Oh man!
um,
Really quickly as well. I don't know the records of every NFC East team, but I think if the Giants, let's say, were to get in with 6 wins, I think that's a new record for the NFL because I think the last team
7-9, the Panthers.
It was like the 2010 Seahawks. I think they won the NFC West.
It was 2014 Panthers because I remember the Bucks were like 2-7 and they still had a shot to win the division.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I think the Panthers won it at 7-8-1.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah, and then so I think the Panthers won a playoff game though, and the Seahawks won a playoff game.
Yeah, they beat.
If you get in at 7 wins, you're winning a playoff game. So that's not good.
Man, that's crazy. It has been a crazy year, and I think that there isn't anything more 2020 than a team that's potentially 6-10 making the goddamn playoffs. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is the NFL, and it is 2020. I wanted to ask really quickly as we kind of wrap things up here. We are still technically previewing this Sunday's game against the Falcons. I wanted to just do some really quick score predictions and overall how you think the game is going to go. I don't have a weekly checklist this week because I didn't want to put Ryan Suckup on it, so I just didn't make one. That's kind of where that happened.
There you go.
But I'll go ahead and throw mine out there first. I do think the Buccaneers win this game. I don't have them winning by nearly as much as I predicted them winning when they played the Falcons last time. I think it's much more stiff of a matchup. I think you get 2 touchdowns from Tom Brady. I think the Buccaneers win this game 28-25. They win by a field goal.
All right, I'm gonna say that the offense really clicks. They continue to click, get off to a fast start, and they will win 31-21.
Wow, there you go. What do you got, James?
I'm gonna say 28-20. Yeah, I'm gonna say
28-20 Falcons. All right.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. Wait. No.
He said, "Yeah, that's right. That's what I said."
Yeah. No.
20 Falcons. Yeah.
So 2 picks for the Bucks to win this weekend and 1 for the Falcons. I'll go ahead and put that in over at Bet Online, and we'll just take James' money this weekend.
Oh,
no. He ends up showing up late, and then he picks against them. Unreal.
Well, you know why they're going to win is because they have the best returner on their, finally back.
Yeah, they've been saving him for the playoffs just for you, buddy.
Because he's back.
Yeah. They were just getting him healthy for the playoffs. He hasn't been healthy.
Yeah, they were getting one of their best players ready for the playoffs. I can't blame him. The guy took, kickoffs in an AFC Championship game. He's ready to go.
Okay. Who was that for? Was that for
Jacksonville?
AFC? I thought it was Jacksonville. I thought that's where he was beforehand. So he was with Leonard Fournette, and that AFC Championship game was against Tom Brady. So
yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Ladies
irony.
and gentlemen, I think we're going to start wrapping up our final show of 2020. First and foremost, I want to send a huge thank you to anybody and everybody who checked out the show this year. It was a really good calendar year for the podcast. And, with the postseason right around the corner, this is usually the time of year that we're wrapping up. This is usually our last game preview show. But with the Buccaneers making the postseason for the first time in 13 years, we are more than excited to keep bringing you the same CFP content that we do all year long. It's playoffs time, baby. We got to get past the Falcons first, but damn excited to talk about it. But it's been a really good year for the show. I'd say it's been a really good year for us on social media. What do you guys think? Was 2020 good to you? I know it wasn't good to everybody else, but for Tampa sports, it was definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, the Lightning winning the Stanley Cup, finally getting over the hump. I don't really care, but it's good for the city of Tampa. And then everybody's celebrating the Magic being 4-0 because you're finally relevant. Cool. I don't care about that either.
The Tampa Bay Raptors off to a blistering start too, right?
And those Tampa Bay Raptors lost to those Philadelphia 76ers the other night. So
what are they? I think the Raptors are like 0-3.
Yeah, they're 0-3. So good job.
Now they're playing like a real Tampa team.
That's the Tampa effect, baby.
Yeah,
your first year here always sucks.
Yeah. So, but I mean, a year where we had an episode of talking about Tom Brady when he coming to the Buccaneers, a year where we had a show recorded and then we had to go live again because the Buccaneers traded for one of the greatest tight ends of all time. We had a show, where we ate wings because why not?
It was our ASMR special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we had a show where not everybody was here on time. So,
I knew it. I knew you were going to
Save the best for last.
Those were the moments I think that made 2020, and we want to thank you all. James, the honorary third member of CFP when he's here, is that's the last one for today at least. Definitely coming back in that's returning in 2021. We're gonna leave everything in 2020 except for that. We're not forgetting that. So happy birthday to Rhett Mustache Matthew.
Yeah.
See, if people can go back and see you shave your mustache, if you want to see what he looks like without a mustache, just go back a little bit. And,
you go back a good 50 or 60 episodes. I'm pretty sure that if you took a screenshot of every episode up until now, between the point that I shaved it off, you could do a time lapse.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to do that, but sure.
I think one more thing I want to recognize about 2020, the year that this was. All the episodes that you had mentioned were great. There were a lot of highlights this year. And I remember doing an episode where after we signed Tom Brady, we didn't even know if there was going to be a season this year. Yep. And here we are. The Buccaneers made the playoffs. It is week 17. And I hate to say it, but you got to kind of commend the NFL for the way that they handled this year.
Why do you hate to say it?
I mean, because I don't know.
A
lot of people want to point at the different outbreaks, the teams
I know,
moving games around, the shutting down of facilities, but it was bound to happen, and they were prepared for it.
Yeah, exactly. Great job by the MLB, NFL, NBA's did a great job with the bubble. The NHL did a great job with the bubble. The NBA right now on Christmas Eve reported no positive COVID tests, and they're not even playing in a bubble right now. So it's a great job by everybody, and really happy that the season was able to get in. But like you said, there was some uncertainty. We were like, is it going to be a 10-game season? And then the preseason got cut. We were like, okay, we can't talk about that now.
Right.
We were really searching for content, and we were able to find it in all the right places. So
absolutely. Now, James, before
what was that? Wait. What was that look for?
Because we found content in all the right places.
Oh,
did it make you uncomfortable?
Me a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna be honest.
Go tell Siri to set another alarm.
Okay. See, now he just gets right back to it. You said it was the last one of the day.
That was before that little sassy look you gave me.
There you go. What were you saying, Rhett?
I was just asking about your 2020 retrospective.
Yeah, for sports it was great. For sports it was pretty good. The Rays went to the World Series. Lightning won the Stanley Cup.
Traded their best pitcher.
It's what they do.
Somebody posted a tweet. I think it was Mike on Twitter. That it was one of the funniest things I've ever read. It was like, could you imagine if the Lightning lost to Dallas and then just traded Hedman for prospects,
for draft picks?
Yeah.
If the Bucks lose in the playoffs and they trade Mike Evans just for
right.
second round pick.
Yeah, Bucks make it all the way to the Super Bowl and they lose, so they just start shipping people out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, regardless, at least every Tampa-based sports team has made the playoffs this year.
Yeah, the Rowdies.
Didn't the Rowdies make it or something?
Yeah, I think they won the conference championship, and then the finals game was never played because of COVID.
Right. So
I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
The Super Bowl's in Tampa. Well, that's going to be in 2021. But I mean, they even had WrestleMania in Tampa.
Days, dude, which is kind of crazy.
In Tampa.
Yeah. Well, was it? It was still technically in Tampa, right?
It was in a performance center in Orlando, technically.
Right. It still counts. Florida. It's Florida. It's cool. But in terms of sports, it was really good this year, and it was a great way to cap it off with the Buccaneers finally clinching a freaking playoff berth in 13 years. It was funny. I asked a ton of people, how old were you whenever the Bucks made the playoffs? And I had so many people say, I was 2, I was 1, I wasn't born yet.
I was 6. So
yeah,
I was 8 or 9, I think.
Yeah, so I was 11, and it's just all these things.
Were you 11?
Yeah, James was old as hell, dude.
There's no way. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Oh my god.
I'm old, dude. I'm an old man.
That's why he wakes up so late.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Ladies
Great
and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for the last episode of 2020. Thank you guys so much for a great year on the show. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. James, thank you so much for being here for the second half of the show today. For the people who don't already know, where can they go to find you and your awesome content?
Just go to YouTube on Mr. Bucks Nation. That's where we go. You know,
That's very nonchalant. Very nonchalant.
what else do you want me to say?
I don't know. Maybe be awake. I don't know.
I'm always I'm not always.
You're
not
rubbing
always
your
awake.
eyes for like 20
Definitely
minutes,
not.
man. Every time
yeah.
we're not talking, I see you in your camera. You're
Yeah,
rubbing your
he's just-
eyes, getting all the
It's-
gunk.
It's half stress, half trying to wake up.
Don't be stressed. This is a stress-free atmosphere. Just
You
be
can go
on
back
time
to a
next
nap
time.
now. It's okay.
If you go to YouTube at Mr. Bucks Nation, that's where you go. I don't know if I'm gonna have a video out today. Probably not, because
No,
whatever.
you gotta go sleep.
I gotta go back to bed. But yeah, we're doing some.
We
cool
woke you up
content
just
here.
long enough to ruin your morning, huh?
We have some cool content going on there. Have some more playoff videos getting made before. I'm just having them made before the playoffs even happen. But it's fine because I didn't feel like talking about the Falcons this week. So that's what we got going on for the remainder of this week. So
That's all right. We didn't feel like talking about the Falcons this week either. That's why we had you on here, and that's
still
why it
woke
was a
up,
pretty
though.
fun show. Ladies and gentlemen, follow my
That's the
co
last jab, I promise.
follow my co-host Evan on Instagram, where he'll probably insult you just as much at
Oh,
Bucks_daily. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL. And last but not least, you can find myself, Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are Rhettakus, Rhettakus. If you follow me, I will follow you back. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host Evan Wanish and our special guest, James Hill. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we will talk to you guys in the postseason. Until then, Happy New Year, and go Bucks.